So I would like to introduce to you our next speaker, Robert Rose. He is the founder and chief troublemaker at the Content Advisory. For more than 15 years, he's helped business leaders balance the art and science of marketing and tell their stories more effectively. Welcome, Robert.
Hello. Hello. All right. Well, okay, so here's some things right up front. You're in school for the next 45 minutes. I'm not Andrew. Look, nobody's Andrew, but so I don't have any, I got none of that. This is going to be school for the next 45 minutes, so I'm going to apologize in advance. Hopefully this is something valuable to you. This is a little bit of a different talk than I normally give because it is a little more granular, it is a little more focused on how and what to do when we think about marketing. Here's what I mean by that. So I called it modern marketing strategy for a very specific reason, because you're going to see that I lean in hard on a lot of the sort of foundational elements of marketing theory. And I'll tell you why I did that. So first, just a little bit about, if you don't know who I am, I'm a fractional marketing leader these days. Fractional's what all the kids are dancing to, so hi, fractional marketing leader, here I am. We used to call it consulting back for us Gen Xers, but okay, now it's fractional shit. That's what we do. All right, but if you're a tech or a media company, that's what I'm doing a lot of these days, is working on a fractional basis to help them figure out their marketing and all of that. I'm also the head of a consulting firm called the Content Advisory with my colleague Kathy McKnight, who's here, by the way. And we work with larger organizations, usually on their content strategy, content marketing, operations challenges. That's people, process, technology, and sorting that out. And I'm also a content entrepreneur myself. I have this podcast you may have heard about with this chucklehead named Joe Polizzi. We do that. I also have a little bit of an email newsletter. And as you'll learn a little bit later, I've got a little community that I'm starting to build with courses that are educational on this very topic, on this topic of marketing. So a few rules before we begin, just as I'm thinking through this. One, marketing is an integrated business strategy. I was very struck by the idea, listening to all of the presentations this morning, Pamela's especially, when I was hearing her talk about the idea of monetizing first and thinking through your market. That's marketing. That is marketing as an integrated business strategy for a content entrepreneur. When I was listening to Jay just now talk about the idea of the middle tier, of the flow, that's marketing. That's what we're doing in marketing. We're trying to pull in interested customers into what it is we do, whether we're going to monetize them through sponsorship, whether we're going to monetize them through product sales, however we're going to monetize them. At its core, that's marketing. We talk a lot about marketing without actually talking about the integrated business strategy of marketing. But it's relevant for us. Also, most marketers don't have any education in marketing. I'm one of them. I'm a musician and an English lit grad. I'm a marketer because it pays better. And so it's just better money. I'm just going to be, there it is. So the key is that so much of what we talk about in marketing has a very specific jargon, has a very specific cadence, has a very specific way of talking, and I want to bring that to you without having you have to go through an entire MBA course in order to get that, so that you can be conversant in marketing. Also, great marketing is never about cynicism. And that's a personal belief of mine. So if you're cynical about it, if you think it won't work, or you think it's stupid, it will be. So that's a key when we think about marketing, because many of us don't, especially if we're in a small solopreneur type of business, we don't want to do marketing. We want to do our thing. We came to do the thing that we love to do. Marketing is the thing that we do over a glass of wine at night when we've done the thing that we wanted to do all day. But no, marketing is fun. Marketing can be fun, and it should be brought with love and joy and all of the things that you want to bring to it. Also, today, when we get into it, it's not a how-to. It's a what is. I'm here to bring you a very, very topical look at marketing and hopefully have you want to explore elements of it further. Some of the things that I will tell you today will be things that you've heard of but you didn't quite get. Some things will be, quite honestly, things you never heard of but you won't ever use. And hopefully all of it together will help you become more conversant as what I call a pro-am modern marketer. What is a pro-am marketing person? I pulled this right out of golf, because the professional amateur, I am starting to notice more and more and more, and it's not just with content entrepreneurs, although it is very, very, very prevalent with content entrepreneurs. Your topic isn't about marketing. Your topic isn't about brand. Your topic isn't about whatever, that has to do with any marketing or selling, but you've got to do marketing. So you want to be good at it. And you have to be good at it because you don't have the luxury of being able to hire an agency or hire a person yet that's going to help you do those things. But this is also prevalent in technology startups. It's prevalent in even mid-sized companies, small companies, sometimes even big companies. There are marketers there who have no education, no background in marketing. They either by accident or by choice have found themselves in a marketing role, and they need to know. And that's where I wanted to focus. Because I've spent my lifetime just completely doused in all marketing theory and thought. And I thought, not everybody wants to go through that. Trust me, not everybody wants to go through that. So how can I bring a pragmatic and practical sense to the classic foundational theories of marketing so that you can incorporate them into your business as a content entrepreneur? One theme of the pro-am marketer, as I've learned over the last 30 years, one, plans are useless. I am not here to teach you how to write a marketing plan. You can Google and you will find plenty of templates out there that you can purchase for ridiculous amounts of money. You can find them for free. You can find them out there, and they'll have all sorts of, you're going to recognize much of the things that you'll find from those plans. The point isn't to fill out the document. The point is going to be to build an intelligence, a marketing strategy system that helps you make decisions faster about what it is you want to do. I've talked to so many content entrepreneurs who find 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year in, what they find is themselves going, God, I wish I had spent the time to research my market better. God, I wish I had spent the time to research my audience better. God, I wish I had spent the time to do those things better, because now I'm rewinding everything in order to go do that. And my point is if you do that up front and as a process ongoing, you will make better business decisions and smarter business decisions faster. Speaking of decisions are much more important to be made than what those decisions are. So much of what happens in marketing, and this includes from content entrepreneur all the way up through enterprise, is just by default. Literally, decisions just get made because no decision got made. We're going to be on social media. Why? I don't know. Is it because we are? We've always done it that way. Everybody else does it that way. Get the airline magazine slapped down in front of everybody. Why aren't we here? I don't know. We just making decisions, conscious decisions about our strategy and what it is we do are way more important than the actual decisions themselves. They can always be undone for the most part. Understanding is more important than knowledge. This is something that's especially true today. Understanding the issues, understanding marketing is hugely important for each and every one of you, no matter how much marketing you do in your business. You have to be able to recognize what good looks like. And you can't recognize what good looks like unless you actually understand what it is that you're actually being shown. If you go hire an agency, you're like, yes, I got flush with money and I'm going to hire an agency and they're going to put together a marketing plan for me. You need to understand whether or not that's good or not. And so you have to do some of the work to understand that. 4, if you don't believe your story, nobody else will either. This is common with content entrepreneurs where we say, I'm going to get onto the hot thing. The hot thing right now is AI. A couple of years ago, it was metaverse and crypto. I'm going to get onto the hot thing and I'm going to become this and I'm going to tell them the world that my story, I am now a crypto expert and I'm going to sell courses and I'm going to do, but you don't really believe it. And guess what? The world doesn't either. You have to believe and become your story. And last but not least, and this is the most important thing for all of you, it is the piece of advice that has served me so well over 30 years. Market where you're going, not where you are. If you right now are in a job, when I first started doing content marketing strategy, consulting work, I didn't immediately on day 2, I set up a website, I did all the sort of owned media, as Jay was talking about. I put all that together, and I started talking about my strategy firm, what I wanted to build, this strategy, and this is what I do, and this is the way I do it. But I wasn't making any money doing that. I was writing email copy. I was doing SEO. I was doing email. I was doing all the stuff that I'd come from in the world of the agency that I came from. That was what was paying the rent, but I was marketing where I was going. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, market where you want to be. You're marketing the future and bringing the future forward, not where you are today. Figure out how to pay your rent. Figure out how to make things work while you're doing that. But if you never get to the point where you're marketing where you're going, you won't get there. So this is the 40-minute now MBA. And I'm going to take you very quickly through this. There is a 10-step process that we're not going to go through all the way today. My 10-step sort of pillars of a marketing strategy. Now I'm putting together an entire course on these 10 steps, and at the end of this, I'm going to give you access to it because I love you and you're all CEX attendees, and you're all going to get free access to the first course, which is the in-depth version of what I'm going to talk about today, which is strategic marketing planning. And there's some templates and stuff like that. You're all going to get that for free. It comes out on June 1st. So the key here is that you, and just understand this, your content, what you produce, is not your marketing. Your marketing is a set of activities that you devote time to understand your audience, their needs, what they want to purchase, the pricing, all of the things that you're going to do to be successful as a business. The content you create may serve one of your marketing purposes. And Jay outlined that great in his talk as he started talking about how do you use the sawdust to drive some of the bigger, longer form pieces that you create. Those are your products that you are marketing. Now you have to understand your audience both from a user, consumer of your product, but also as a persuasion and how do you get them to do the things that you want them to do. Every step in this is important, but some are a little more important than others. And I would argue that number one, and that's the reason it's number one, strategic marketing planning is the most important. It's also, quite honestly, the most boring. It takes time. It takes work. You're not going to like doing it. You're going to continually sit at your computer and be working on this going, can't I just want to do the thing. I just want to write the thing. I just want to make the video. I just want to do the thing. And I'm going to say, no, you've got to go do the work. You've got to devote time to it. And not just once. You've got to devote time to it over and over and over and over again. All right. So let's talk about this. Strategic marketing planning. Yes, for you, really. For the content entrepreneur. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use all the jargon that you're going to find in marketing textbooks, in a university class, all the foundational elements, the jargon that you're going to hear from agencies who come at you, from venture capital people who come at you. You're going to hear all this marketing jargon, and I'm going to break it down for you so that you actually get, oh, this is what they really mean. Strategic marketing planning is like, how do we know what we're going to do? That's it. That's all strategic marketing planning is. So, if you don't understand where you are currently today, you have no idea where you're going. You cannot understand where you're going. So this is why strategic marketing and planning is such an important thing. Even if you hire somebody, you have to understand where you're going and the vision and how you're going to get there, because you won't be able to understand if it's good enough if that person comes back to you and says, this is what we're going to recommend for you. This is the tagline. This is the email messaging. This is how we're going to build your website. This is the way we're going to promote you on social media. This is your advertising strategy. Here's where you're going to spend money. You need to understand the concepts of those things. You don't need to understand necessarily how to do it. You don't need to go get a master's degree in marketing. You don't need to. It's not that hard to understand, but you need to understand it. That's the critical thing. It's a process, this strategic marketing planning. It's not a project. You don't do it once before you set up your tent, your sort of shingle, whatever metaphor you like for your business, and then be done with it. It's a process. People change. Your customers change. Everybody changes. You change. The market changes. So this is something that you will do, developing what I call a marketing intelligence system. Again, it's not about the document. It's about devoting time to this so that you become the subject matter of the market space that you're in. That's the goal, is to develop an understanding that everything that influences your business, because that's the core of marketing. So you're going to define it. You're going to clarify it. You're going to prioritize it, and then you're going to implement it. And that continuous cycle is the way that I want you to think about this. So there's 4 core factors of a planning system. 4 core factors, and we're going to go through each one in a little bit of detail. 1 External forces and trends. Basically understanding the cultural and technological environment. 2, internal forces and trends. Okay, that's what you're going to hear from someone who knows marketing or is in jargon. What that really means is you need to read the room. You need to be able to read the market room. And 2, you need to know your world. You need to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you want to do, what you don't want to do. That's all they are. They're definitions. And write them down. Know them. This is key. Cultural, technological decisions. 3, you need to know the market sizing and segmentation. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because I think this is the number one most important thing for you to understand. This is where most businesses fail. It's not understanding the size and the way that their market is segmented. And you've heard it embedded into just about every presentation that came through today. Was the need to understand your audience and the way that they're segmented and what they want and who they are. Demographics versus psychographics. All of those things that we heard today are about market sizing and segmentation. And then understand your key competitors. Basically, said very simply, what's the real opportunity that our market presents itself with? And 2, who's our real competition? We should know that. It's amazing to me how many can't name who's your competition in the market. It's amazing to me, there are startups that I talk to all the time, the CEO, founders of startups, and I'll say, who's your competition? They'll go, we don't have any. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. And so you have to know who your competition is, and you definitely want some. So what kinds of questions, if we look at the external elements of things, what kinds of questions? All kinds of questions. Political. Is our industry sort of looking at regulation or deregulation? Are we going to face pressure to get political on anything? Is our industry considered one way or the other right now? Think about AI right now. Think about TikTok right now. These are all political considerations that we need to have in our minds about our business. Economic. What does the socioeconomic outlook look like for our particular industry or my particular topic or the thing that I'm talking about? Technology is the big one right now. Human resources is another one. Do we understand the economics of our buyers? Where are they right now in their world of being willing to buy for things, and how much will they pay for things? What are the financial models? What are the business models of my industry? Where can I zig where everybody else is zagging? How about technological? What are the technological ramifications that are going on right now? Algorithm changes on social media. Or when we think about work and environment, right? Social and environment. What are things about, am I good for the planet? Am I bad for the planet? What I'm doing. We need to know the answers to all these things. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to look through and answer every one of these as a template, but the point is that you need to understand and read the market room and write it down and understand it and have a system for keeping track of it. This is part of your job as a business owner, as a CEO or a CMO, or in your particular role in your content creator business, is understanding the business. Perfect case study here. So I worked with a little friend of mine named Joe Polizzi. He is little. He's a little man. And so I worked with my friend Joe Polizzi on this thing called Content Marketing Institute. This is, by the way, Content Marketing Institute in 2008. I want you to look at the little head in the upper right. Isn't that just the perfect personification of him? Anyway, that's what it was. And what did we know? He was just a content creator, and we were starting to draw and to become a content creation business. And so what did we know? Well, we knew the thing didn't have really a name. The content marketing wasn't a thing in 2007 and 2008. It just wasn't. But what we did know is that there was really an interesting trend happening in other industries, specifically publishing and B2B. What was happening was these publishing companies were getting asked by B2B companies to do things like magazine articles, advertorials, all kinds of even publish entire magazines, the airline magazine. The whole idea started to really come together. We started to think, this is really interesting, because when we start looking at brands like Red Bull and what they're doing, and when we started looking, there's a thing here, there's a trend happening here with content from all of these angles, and we looked at every angle that we could to say, where is the trends? What is the economic? And we started to build on that and say, this is where we can build a bubble. This is where we can build our little moat of an idea called content marketing. And that became sort of the core methodology of what we built into. We built it into the navigation of the site. We built that idea into what we talked about when we talked about content marketing and how to build it. all of that sort of was the source of our point of view on the world. Internal forces and trends. When you think about internal forces and trends, you'll often hear about doing a SWOT analysis, right? So you'll hear from a consultant or somebody who you bring in, and they'll say, you should do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as part of your planning process. I want to tell you not to do that. I want to tell you not to do that yet. And the reason I don't want you to do it yet is because what ends up happening is that we do a SWOT analysis before we set our strategy. And if you set your SWOT analysis before you set your strategy, all you're doing is looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as they are today. What I want you to do is go through the entire process and set the right strategy. Set the right strategy for someone who didn't have any strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats. What would the ideal look like? What would the right strategy look like? Then, after the strategy is set, go do your SWOT analysis. Say, what's going to prevent us from getting there? What is the strengths we have from getting to that? What is the weaknesses we have? What are the opportunities and what are our threats? That's what you're looking at. How mature is what it is we're doing, our product or service? Are there advantages or disadvantages to the way that we bring things to market or how we price? What's the current perception holding us back? Or what's our distraction? Finally, where are we strong and where are we weak? And be honest with it. Knowing that, it's part of the process. Wait until after you set your strategy and are ready to execute, then do your internal forces and trends. That will help you prioritize the things that you need to get done quickly, the things that you can put off, and note those things that you're going to have to do eventually. Market sizing and insight. As I mentioned, this is probably the most important thing that no company does today. It is amazing to me. It is amazing to me. When I talk to a content entrepreneur, any entrepreneur, I talk to startups all the time. I'll say, tell me about your TAM, which is total addressable market. Your total addressable market, which is basically the entire market opportunity for you. It can be expressed in dollars or it can be expressed in people. It can be expressed in numbers. It is the total market opportunity for a particular product or service. Most CEOs at startup companies don't know this number, and it's tragic. This is the number that you will have emblazoned on your forehead. Then there's what we call the service addressable market, because you can't reach your total addressable market at the get-go. You just can't. There will be things in the way. There's this thing called Earth. And so there are countries that you may not be able to get into. There are things like states or regulations or laws or platforms that you're not on that won't allow you to reach a particular set of customers. That's your SAM, what's called your service addressable market. Again, don't get wrapped up in the jargon. This is what you're going to hear. First thing a venture capitalist is going to hear if they want to come invest in your company and give you money, they're going to say, tell me your TAM and your SAM and your SOM. And you're going to go, what? That's alphabet soup? I've never heard of that. But now you have. Now you know exactly what those things are. And then, of course, the last one is your SOM, your service obtainable market. That is what is obtainable to you realistically today. That is what is obtainable to you realistically today. There's competition in the market. You have done strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, and you realize you can't read, you have limited on ad budget. That's what's going to be obtainable for you and where you want to prioritize. I'll give you an example of this. I worked with a content entrepreneur. Their name was Katie. And Katie has a small owners managed finance business. Basically, she helps SMB owners manage finance. So she's got content, she's got social content, she's got long-form content. She's thinking about building an app. And she wants to help these small business owners basically, through their mobile phones, get access to great content, great education, and ultimately a great app that helps them do online banking and stuff a little better. So who's her TAM? Well, at first, when I said, who's your TAM? She said, all small business owners in the U.S. No, because is it all small businesses? Because that's hundreds of millions of people. Well, no, that's not right. Okay, well, is it all small businesses who actually employ at least one or more people? Yes, that's it. Great. All small businesses who actually employ between 1 and 100 employees. That's 32 million people. Is that your TAM? Well, maybe. That sounds like a lot. How about small business owners with more than one employee but less than 100? Oh, great. That's 6 million. You see how those numbers change so fast? We went from 32 million to 6 million with 2 calculations. And then we say, great, what is your service addressable market, your SAM? What is your SAM? What does that equal? Well, the products that she has are really only available through the iPhone right now. She's screaming at her developers to get an Android version ready. She can't do it. Well, now it's all small business owners who are basically only on iPhone. Well, that reduces it further because not all small business owners are on iPhone. It's about 25%, as it turns out. Okay, well then how about your service obtainable market, what you can actually realistically count on obtaining, Katie? And she said, well, let's see. Really, I mean, it's not going to be, your elder boomer sort of small business owners because they're not interested in doing this thing online. They're not interested in getting education through short-form video. They're not interested in this kind of thing. It's really going to be Gen X and above business owners. Great. So you've got SMB owners who are of a particular age and in a special industry who want to manage their billing online, who want to get education online through iPhones, and are also small business owners. We started to segment the market down, and what we see is at the end, there's only a couple of million, 800,000 total addressable market. Now, you multiply that by her total expected revenue, that's where she can expect to be if she got 100% of her song. And of course she won't, because there's competition, et cetera, et cetera. It changes the calculus immediately because it gives you the ability to focus. Focus on, that's the person we want to focus on, that low-hanging fruit, the small business owner who doesn't really have something in their mind right now, who doesn't have education, is struggling, is on an iPhone. It's knowing that customer and then sort of talking to that customer and saying, do you have an existing, no, we don't have it. Now I've got something. I've got something. It can help with my content planning. It helps with my market entry. I can say, I'm not going to go advertise anywhere where I'm going to have heavy Android users. I'm not going to go advertise on these platforms on necessarily where it's only going to be Android, or I'm going to write for that particular blog that's going to give me Android users. It's an industry niche. She could go vertical if she wanted to go vertical. She can go into looking at the reality of things. Now when a venture capital person comes in and says, I want to put some money into you, tell me about it. She's like, this is what the realistic plan looks like. So whether you're looking for investment or whether you're looking to get out of your mom's basement, whatever those things, it gives you a realistic business plan. Now, competitive analysis. When you think about competitive analysis, what are you looking at? Well, here we can lean on the wonderful Michael Porter, who was a Harvard business professor and taught us about competitive research. You've heard of all of these things before, but you've probably never seen them all in one idea of a strategic marketing planning process. One, substitute products. Very simply, what are the alternatives to you? They're out there. You hope they're out there. And don't forget that they're out there in a way that is competitive in ways that you probably haven't thought of. Substitute products isn't a pencil for a pencil. It's somebody just invented a pen. And so now you have to deal with that. What are the substitutions for what it is you do? Who's doing what you do that's a substitute for what you do? Two, the bargaining power of suppliers. And again, don't get wrapped up in the jargon. That's how it's going to be phrased. What is the bargaining powers of suppliers? It's simply, what exclusive relationships do you have that you can use as a market differentiator? In other words, if you've got a relationship with an agency, or if you've got a relationship with a distributor or a manufacturer, or you get your ingredients from some special place, you have to protect that at all costs. It also means that if you get your ingredients or the way that you do business from something that everybody else does, you don't have any bargaining power. This is social media writ large. We all get what the gods at Meta and Google give us. That's it. We all get it in exactly the same portions. There's no differentiation there at all. And so the bargaining power of that supplier is really high, and our bargaining power is really low. Threat of new entrants. What is the new entrants? What are new people trying to do? Are you established in your place of business and you've done your content for years and years? You've done it for so long, but now there's new little ankle biters coming up. It's like, that guy doesn't, he's not good, but he's young and beautiful, and oh my God, his TikTok videos are amazing. That's a new entrant into the marketplace, and you need to be thinking about who those new entrants are that may ultimately disrupt you. Who's going to disrupt you? Then there's the bargaining power of buyers. You've heard the phrase, the customer's always right. They're not always right. I mean, as we heard As we heard, you have haters. You're going to have haters who don't want your stuff. But the bargaining power of buyers all comes down to what is their alternative. If they have a lot of alternatives, if all they need to do is swipe to the right to get to another alternative, then you need to think it through. The questions you want to ask yourself are these. And again, like the other external forces, internal forces, this isn't meant to be comprehensive. It's not meant to be done in one sitting. This is something for you to work on as a process over and over. When we lose, who do I lose to? Sometimes in B2B, the question is, who do I lose to? Nobody. It's no decision. How do I get over that? That's a competitive thing that we have to think about. Product offering and positioning. What is their product offering? What are they doing that I'm not doing? What is the financial situation? How do they price? Am I priced too high? Are they priced too low? Am I copying their pricing? Am I looking at the best practices? I've been hearing this sort of thing in selling courses for content entrepreneurs. It needs to be between $147.50 and $273.23. And the reason because it has to fall into that is because then the person doesn't have to go to their spouse and ask permission to buy it. That may or may not be true, but that's the kind of thing we need to be understanding. What's actually happening? You guys remember when HubSpot used to come out every week and they would say something like, Tuesdays is the best time to blog. Well, it is until Tuesday, and everybody blogs on Tuesday. So we need to be conscious of these things. How competitive are they really? What I want you to do, and this is actually a homework assignment, I want you to take one homework assignment here, which is to actually do your competitive graph. I want you to think through who are the competitors to you in your marketplace, and I want you to do it across two axes. One is whether they're declining in influence or raising in influence. In other words, are they on a decline of what it is they do, or are they growing and they're becoming more and more powerful, like the Sith and Palpatine? Somehow, Palpatine returned. Okay, on the bottom, are they different than us? Thank you for the laugh on Palpatine returned. Similar to us or different than us? Now, I want you to put yourself on this graph as well. Now, obviously, you're going to put yourself on the very far-hand, right-hand side of the graph because nobody's you-er than you. So you're definitely there, but I want you to be conscious of where you place yourself vertically. And then what I want you to do is I want you to actually plot your competitors on this graph and be honest. And what's going to end up happening? Do 5, 6, 7, 10 if you want, competitors. And I want you to pay attention to those in the upper right quadrant. Hopefully you're in the upper right quadrant. Hopefully you're not in the lower right quadrant, but hopefully you're in the upper right quadrant there. And those are the people we need to be paying especially attention to. We need to figure out how we're different, how we're differentiating from them, because they are our main targets. Those that are in the upper left-hand quarter, well, they're growing, but they're doing something that's really different than us. So what is it that they're doing? Maybe those are people we can learn from. Then there's the lower left quadrant. The lower left quadrant are competitors we can safely ignore. They're either on the down low, or they're really different, or both. And that's key. We can ignore them. We don't need to pay attention to them. We don't need to give them airspace. And then there's you've got these. You know your frenemies on social media. It's a small world. We all have them in our communities. There's those people that every time they post on social media, you're like, that fucking guy again? I mean, what? Really? This guy's it's stupid. And you're like, should I comment? I'm not going to comment. I want to comment on his post, but I'm not going to comment on his post because I don't want to pick a fight. I'm not going to give it any oxygen. That's those that we need to think. So, it's a process, not a project. Remember that. The average budget for a strategic planning process, a marketing planning process for companies that are successful are anywhere between 6 and 10%. So think about that. Now, you may not measure your marketing budget in dollars right now. You may only measure it in time. And quite honestly, it may be the kind of thing that you're doing whenever you're not doing anything else. But I want you to spend at least 6 to 10% of the time that you spend in marketing, creating new ads, creating new social media posts, creating the idea of what you're doing through email marketing and drip campaigns and automation and all the things that you're doing in marketing, 6 to 10% of your time thinking about, working in, strategic, all of these questions that I just asked. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it will more than pay you back. I promise you it will pay you back. You will become an expert in your business. You will become the preeminent expert in your business, and that's what you have to be. You might get lucky and go viral. You might get lucky and have a big, huge hit. But if you want to stay competitive and have competitive advantage for the long haul, you've got to put time and effort into this over time. Do it regularly. It's a marketing intelligence system. Just a word before we leave on marketing goals, because this is what we're ultimately getting to. Marketing goals and objectives. What's the difference? The difference is a goal is the top of the hill. That's what we want. Our marketing goal might be $1 million of revenue in the first year. It might be $500,000. Whatever your goal is going to be different from everybody else's. Your goal. What is your goal? It's not 10,000 visitors. A goal should be what it is, what's the value that I'm trying to create? What is the true value for me that I'm trying to create? And it could be quantitative, like $1 million or 500,000, but it may also be, I just want to be able to do this full time. You may not have a number in mind, you just want to be able to do what you do full time. That's perfectly fine. It's a goal. What is the value? What is my personal value? The objectives are all the waypoints that we have leading up to that goal. So great goals are time-based. They have time horizons to them. Objectives also have time horizons to them, but they're waypoints. There are waypoints to let us know how we're doing against that. There's only two ways goals and objectives are set. You set them for yourself, or someone sets them for you. For most of us who have worked in companies, big companies, small companies, they were mostly set for us. You had your CEO or your VP of marketing or your VP of whoever, and they would say, this is your goal. This is our goal for the actual quarter. Most likely it was an objective. In most cases it's an objective, not a goal. But nevertheless it was set for you, or today, as a content entrepreneur, you're setting them yourself. Set them, write them down. It's one of the things that Joe does. I don't do it nearly as well. Joe does this amazingly well. He writes his goals down. He visits them weekly. He looks at them. He has them written down. He's always focused on his goals and his objectives. And it's why he's so successful, is because he actually takes care of it. Now, as you go through strategic marketing planning, you're going to set goals, but they're not set until the plan is set. Just like the internal analysis, the internal SWOT analysis, your goals, you're going to write some goals down, you're going to do those goals, then you're going to go through the rest of the marketing plan, and you're going to put all of that understanding together, and then you're going to go, great, now we're ready to execute. They're not set until you're set. Don't be afraid to come back. You go, I just learned this thing about this new external force or this new competitor that's coming in. I'm going to adjust yeah, that's fine. You need to be realistic as well as comfortable with your goals. Start by writing a marketing mission. Now, I don't mean a mission statement like you maybe think I do. Mission statements that are fuzzy and sort of, kumbaya, we're going to save the world and the planet's all going to come together as one and all of that. And it turns into a Michael Jackson song. No, I want you to write a marketing mission that is very specific to marketing and the success that you're going to create as when you put on your marketing role hat. These are the components of it. One, the overriding value that you're going to create. Remember, I just talked about this, the goal. The alignment to your business mission from a marketing perspective. Two, the key market, the number one market that you're going to go after. If your target market, if you tell me your target market is everybody, that tells me you haven't done the work. You've got to focus in on a very specific target market in time. Maybe you'll reach everybody over time, but in time, in priority, you've got key target markets where you're going to get your buyers from. Then, the contribution. What's the contribution going to be to the business? The products and services that we provide. The lost art of product marketing. This is especially true in content entrepreneurship. What are those things? What are the contributions that we're going to provide to the value of the business? Is it a long-form book? Is it a class? Is it monetization of an audience through sponsorship? Those 10 things that Joe talked about in his keynote this morning. The distinction, how those things are different, how we're different from the others, and ultimately the objectives. What are your tangible objectives that you're going to go to reach that goal? This is the one thing that I actually would like you to write down and make real. There's a magic in the telling, I promise. Writing it down makes it real. And so, remember our friend Katie? They renamed the company. They also found that a content brand was better than them going out as Katie. So Katie came up with a name. She called it Virtuential, which was targeting those small business owners, targeting them with content and ultimately an app. And she said, at Virtuential, we provide mobile access to the kind of big business banking education that only larger law firms have. We provide these services to every small business law firm who cares to understand the details behind their finances. You can see how she verticalized. She got specific about her TAM, her SAM, her SOM. Basically, our mission is to attract new, young business owners who are just launching to differentiate by delivering big business sophistication in an easy-to-understand way. My priority goal is to expand awareness of our brand and our content to this new market to more than 10,000 lawyers and to increase sales in order to drive profitable growth and more than 1,000 paying customers within 18 months. That is clear, that is concise, it is specific. That is a marketing goal that any venture investment person can get their heads around. Any CEO, CFO can get their heads around. It is clear, it's specific. Now we can start setting priorities. Now I'm a huge fan of OKRs. And if you haven't explored OKRs, I would absolutely, it's a well-worn methodology for measurement. Objectives and key results. Objectives and key results. You set an objective, and then you have key results that define meeting that objective. Started by Andy Grove at Intel back in the day, now used by Microsoft and Google and just about every tech company coming out of Silicon Valley. OKRs are, there's whole books on OKRs. I twist on OKRs a little bit. I have 4, not 3 levels. I like 4 levels. The first is the objective, the absolute shared objective of our business, whether it's me and a colleague or whether it's me and myself, my shared objective. What do I want to achieve in that time that's going toward my goal? Then, the key results, unambiguous. I understand it, my boss understands it, my colleague understands it, we all understand what meeting that objective means. It's unambiguous whether we met it or not. Now, it can be done a few ways, qualitatively or quantitatively, but it's unambiguous to us. We know what it means. C, this is the level I add, which are called KPIs, key performance indicators, which are the aggregates of measurement. In other words, looking at your social media followers by the flow to your website. Which one is providing the best one? Which one is providing the cheapest traffic? Which one is providing the best traffic? And starting to aggregate those together into dashboards, those are KPIs. You're not going to get them out of one tool. You'll get them out of combining the metrics across many tools. Those become progress toward your objectives. Are we getting there or are we not getting there? Are we getting there or are we not getting there? Then there are, of course, the metrics, the follower numbers and the traffic numbers and the emails and the downloads and all the things that we're tracking there. Start with those objectives and key results. And you can do so by a number of ways. You've got performance key results, unambiguous. We got 1,000 people to buy our stuff. That's a key result, performance. There's context. Maybe your objective is for 6 months, so you've got a contextual key result. Well, we want to get 30% of it in the first quarter and 70% of it in the second quarter. That becomes a contextual key result. It might be an overall learning, enablement. I've taken that class. I'm done taking that class, and I'm actually there now ready and able to do something like marketing, or I'm ready and able to do something like launch my new product, whatever that, it's an enablement idea. And then there's graded key results. Did I get an A? Did I get a B? Did I get a C? Did I get an F? Understanding that we all understand what A, B, C, and F actually mean. You can do it however you want to do it, but do it. Write them down. This is the fundamentals of how you'll create your strategic marketing and modern marketing idea. Creating the design measurement pyramid, as I like to call it, for each and every place that you're putting something for the buyer, for your customer. So if you haven't seen this before, you'll see it a lot of times, which is what's called the buyer's journey as an infinity loop. You see this a lot. Top of the funnel there at the bottom left, which is discover, moving through try, getting all the way to use, adopt, return. Fill this out for yourself for whatever your buyer's journey is. How do we know what our buyer's journey is? Well, we did all this work. We did all this work in our strategic marketing plan, and we know exactly how to do all of that. We can put that buyer's journey together. What are they taking? Because we know our customer. We've researched them. We know what they do. We know how they make decisions regarding what it is we work on. Then build an experience at each one of those steps. Just like Jay was talking about, you've got a trust experience all along the idea here. You've got a trust experience when they first meet you. You've got a trust experience as they start to try on, and maybe they get an email from you saying, hey, have you tried this thing yet? Hey, have you tried this thing yet? You've got a trust experience after they've purchased, and you want to upsell them into other things. You've got another trust experience, so you've got a measurement pyramid for each trust experience that you create. That's the way modern marketing is done, and you understand it. Now you have the basis for looking at all of this. Now, here's the quick conclusion here. So, come hang out. I got more geeky stuff. If you enjoyed school today, for you CEX attendees, you can go here. It's contentmarketingstrategy.com if you want to just type it in instead of taking a picture of the QR code. But please come and hang out. It'll be launched June 1st. For all of you who register for the wait list, you're getting it for free. You're going to get it for free, and it'll be, you get all the content in there for free, by the way. So come and hang out if you feel like coming and hanging out and so each one of the things that I went to today, I go through in much greater detail, including a few things that I didn't get to today, things like revenue management and pricing, and how to think through some of those things. That'll be fun because now you'll be ready to truly begin operating as a pro-am marketer. Someone who understands the concepts, understands how to do strategic marketing in the modern era, but doesn't necessarily have to spend a lifetime going to master it, unless you want to. I mean, I've found my love. I found everything that I loved in getting steeped in the history of marketing and doing everything and spending the last 30 years doing that, but I totally understand that a lot of people don't find that as enjoyable as I do. And of course, if you have any questions, I would love to connect with every one of you. That is my LinkedIn profile there, and I would love to connect with each and one of you that I haven't already. I will see you tonight at the 80s party. I've got my concert t-shirt ready to roll. I am looking forward to drinking copious amounts of tequila. And I thank you all so very much for your time. By the way, if you enjoyed this, my name is Robert Rose. If you did not enjoy this, my name is Joe Polizzi. I would hope that you would just fill out the questionnaire accordingly. Thank you very much.